Welcome to the Beyond February podcast, where we highlight changemakers transforming our Montreal community. Today's guest is Akilah Newton, an activist, entrepreneur, and author making a significant impact on arts and education. Akilah's love for the performing arts began when she studied in music, drama, and dance, alongside her work with the Montreal Jubilation Gospel Choir. After earning a degree in arts, music, and entertainment management from the Liverpool Institute for Performing Arts, she returned to Montreal to empower young artists. In 2009, she founded OvertureWithTheArts, which provides performing arts education to youth from diverse backgrounds, like the Black History Month School Tour, educate young people about Canadian Black history through music and spoken word. As an author, Akilah co-wrote Big Dreamers, the Canadian Black History Activity Book for Kids, Volume 1, highlighting the contributions of Black Canadians. Her creative efforts continue to expand, enhancing educational resources. Join us as we explore Akilah's inspiring journey and her commitment to social change through the arts. Welcome, Akilah.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. I appreciate you so much. You already know. So I have a few questions for you today. Are you ready?
I'm excited, not just ready.
That's good. So my first question to you was, what was the spark that ignited your passion for arts and activism?
Ooh, that is a great question. What was the spark? I mean, I have always been in the arts as a kid. Like, I was not that kid that was good at science, math, any of that.
I understand, yeah.
When I was a kid, I loved the movie Annie. I was always singing and dancing around the house.
Nice.
And, I was privileged enough where my parents were able to enroll me in all these fun theater and dance programs. And I really did shine in those programs. So that's what basically, boosted my self-esteem.
Right.
I felt really good about myself. And I just remember as a child, wanting to do that as an adult. And as I grew and matured and realized as a teenager and young adult that you could actually make a career out of it, not as a performer,
Right.
but on the management side, a light bulb went off. I was
Of course.
ooh, I can do this.
Yes.
So I've always loved working with the community and especially working with youth and being involved with the Black community specifically. So after I graduated university, I went to university in Liverpool, England, moved back to Montreal, and I basically was on a mission to start an organization where youth would be able to take, arts programs, whether it was performing arts, media arts, visual arts, whatever it was.
Yeah.
I wanted them to create in a safe and positive environment. And I didn't want their parents to have to, bankrupt themselves to enroll their kids. So I just
Right.
wanted to make the arts accessible to youth.
Oh my gosh. And that you have done. And can you tell us about a particular memorable experience? Can you tell us about a particularly memorable experience you've had while touring with Overture with the Arts? Because you've done so much since it's open. So what's a memorable experience from that?
Absolutely. So, Overture with the Arts started in 2009. We've had so many beautiful experiences and moments, but I would say one of the most memorable is when we started our Black History Month school tour.
Yes.
It started off locally in Montreal. We visited 2 schools in the first year.
Wow.
And fast forward now, we're in year, I believe, 12 or 13 of the tour.
Yeah.
And we've toured across Canada. We've done presentations in Ontario, Alberta,
Oh my goodness.
British Columbia, obviously Quebec. So memorable moments is just going to schools across Canada and just seeing how kids get excited to learn about Canadian Black history because they're not learning about it in the classroom. I remember when we went to Alberta, I believe it was in either 2018 or 2019, right before the pandemic. And we were at a university and students did not know what Black History Month was. It wasn't celebrated in Alberta.
goodness.
It only became official, I believe, in about 2018 or 2019.
Wow.
So that was definitely a memorable moment, going to school with young adults who were like, what's Black History Month?
Oh my goodness.
So I guess, a lot of memorable moments have happened throughout the journey, the 15-year journey of the organization, but just the most memorable to me is just being able to educate kids about, these trailblazers in Canada.
Absolutely. What do you think we can do, though, to bring Black history to the forefront a little bit more for those who don't know about it? Because I still believe there are some people who don't know about it or take it as serious.
Yeah, I definitely think that schools need to make it mandatory because right now in Quebec, to my understanding, it's not mandatory. It's not part of the curriculum. I think in the history textbook, there's like 2 or 3 paragraphs at best that talk about little incidents, in Canadian Black history. If schools are forced to actually, use it as part of the history curriculum, I think then, these students are going to be learning about, not just Jacques Cartier and Samuel de Champlain.
Exactly. Yes.
They're going to be learning about Gloria Bayliss, Rufus Rockhead.
Right.
And,
Yourself creating history.
Thank you.
Right? No, seriously. But I think that also too with Quebec, it could be a language thing as well. Do you think that the language barrier has a lot to do with why Black history is not as important?
I don't think it's a language thing. I think it's a skin color thing.
Okay. You know what? And that's an honest answer. I really like that because we have to be real about it, right?
Yeah, because if, like I said, we're talking about Samuel de Champlain and Jacques Cartier, we're not learning about Matthew da Costa.
Exactly.
We easily can. I mean, we have amazing historians here locally. We can tap into them and have them help create a curriculum that kids will be able to digest.
That's true.
But our government chooses not to.
Sadly. So you are committed to sharing Canadian Black history with youth. How have students responded and what have been some of your favorite reactions?
Yeah, absolutely. So kids have been so receptive to it. So my twin brother, Omari Newton, is the host of the presentations. And for years, I was the tour manager going across the country with him. I no longer do that because I just have too many things going on.
Of course.
But we've had so many beautiful moments where kids come up to us after the presentation and thank us because they say, like, we don't learn about these stories. A little bit that we do learn about Black history is literally about slavery, and that's it.
Oh my gosh.
We're not learning about incredible people like Viola Desmond. We're not learning about, the dozens of people who have helped change, not just history in Black history. It's just like history on a national level, and we're just not learning about it. So kids are very grateful to actually learn a different side of history.
That's awesome. And about Liverpool. So how did your time at Liverpool Institute for Performing Arts shape your outlook on arts and activism?
Yeah, that school was incredible. I was in Liverpool from 2003 to 2006. Wow. And I absolutely loved it. It was very similar to like that TV show Fame.
Yes.
You would see kids, rehearsing lines in the cafeteria, dancers rehearsing as well. It was just a really warm and loving environment. And I just, like I said, I love the arts so much. So for me, I realized that I could marry the arts with activism and community initiatives. And that was a light bulb moment for me. There was actually a program at my school, and I think it was called Community Arts or something like that. I wasn't in that program, but that actually was somewhat of an introduction to me where I could actually, do arts management, but more on the community side.
That's really cool.
So I just got to learn more about how I can write grants, how I could write business proposals. That was part of what we were learning at school.
Wow.
So it really was an incredible experience for me and really just taught me that I can do more with the arts and it's not just about performance.
Of course. That's awesome. Now we're going to talk about Big Dreamers a bit. So Big Dreamers right here, her babies. So Big Dreamers, it focuses on celebrating multiculturalism and individuality. Yes. How do you see these values shaping the future of youth in Canada?
Oh, wow. That's an excellent question, first of all. I just really do see these, trailblazers that are featured in the book inspiring, the future generations of change makers. Right. Because these stories, as I mentioned earlier, often aren't told. And because now there's access to hundreds of stories about phenomenal Black Canadians, kids are really just reading these stories and they're just like, wait a second. I never learned about this. Wait a second. I didn't know about this. Or it just inspires them and encourages them to dream the biggest dreams and they can go on and achieve anything. So I think these stories are really important and have so much value for youth because they can see that they could do anything they set their mind to.
Absolutely. So you've made a coloring book and a storytelling book at the exact same time.
I did.
What inspired that?
To be honest, what inspired my Big Dreamers series was the Black History Month school tour.
Got it. Okay.
And what's funny is a dear friend of mine who's from England, she immigrated here and she's a white woman. She has 2 young white children. And she said to me, she's like, I need my kids to learn,
of course,
anything else but what we're learning in school.
I love that.
She asked me to recommend several books on Canadian Black history. I'm like, yeah, I'll do some research. And honestly, when I was researching, this was back in 2018 when my first book came out.
Okay.
I found one book for kids about Canadian Black history.
Oh my goodness.
All of the other books that I was finding was about the States, about Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, all phenomenal, important people who literally changed history around the world.
Right.
However, nothing about people here in Canada.
Wow.
So because I was doing the school tour with my brother for so long and helping with the research, a light bulb went off in my head and I realized, wait a second, I have a wealth of knowledge.
Of course.
Why don't I just create a book?
Right.
I had no clue what I was doing.
That's okay.
But, I just
start somewhere.
went to the University of YouTube, figured it out. I was like, okay, well, I can self-publish this book.
Of course.
And that's what started the journey with Big Dreamers.
That's awesome. And if you could introduce one historical Black Canadian figure to the youth of today, with the books or without, who would it be and why?
Ooh, great question. One of my favorite stories in these books, and you're actually going to interview someone who's related to this person later today, is Gloria Bayless.
Of course.
Hands down,
Yay.
absolutely love her story. And so, like, a lot of people don't know about what she's done. She is phenomenal. So, as a Black female entrepreneur, I love the fact that, you know, in the 80s, she started her own business, which was very successful.
Yes.
And for a female to do that back then, you know, it was very rare.
Of course.
And then, I mean, her business has grown, and decades later, it's $1 billion corporation.
100%.
And not just the fact that she was an entrepreneur, but the fact that she was an activist. She basically took a stand against racism. It's because of her that it's now illegal to discriminate. Employment discrimination is illegal because of her in Quebec and nationwide.
Wow.
And people don't know that story. And I'm so inspired by what she did and what she's accomplished. And if I could accomplish a small fraction of what she's done, oh my God.
I think you're almost there.
That's very kind.
That's me being biased, but I honestly think you're almost there.
But I think we need to do more to promote her story and her journey.
I think we do too, because after doing my research, I didn't know about her either. I will be completely honest. I didn't know until I started doing the research, and I'm like, wow, why didn't we learn this in elementary school, high school, college?
Exactly. Even today in 2024. I mean, our own community don't really know about her, and it's not our fault. It's just because the information is not readily available.
It's only if you Google it. It's only if you search it up. So
exactly,
you guys will learn more about her later. My other question is, what's one misconception about Canadian Black history that you think people need to be more aware of?
Oh, one huge misconception is that slavery didn't exist in Canada.
Oh, yes.
We go to schools, do the school presentations, and kids will, not just kids actually, teachers will say, oh, well, we don't have racism here because we didn't have slavery here. Oh. It's like, oh, really?
we did it?
According to who?
Well, geez.
Exactly. And because of the weather here and the climate here, we don't have people outside in, you know, that are in fields because it's cold for more than half of the year.
Right.
But we had slaves in the home.
Exactly.
And because I guess it's behind closed doors, people didn't see. I mean, the founder of McGill built his career and built his wealth off of slavery.
Oh, boy.
So it's just like, give me a break. So that's a huge misconception.
It is only because, too, they're not teaching it in schools. Again, it just comes full circle, right?
Exactly.
So when you started Overture with the Arts, what were your hopes for the organization, and how has it evolved since then?
Absolutely. So when I first started the organization in 2009, the hope was to just have young kids from underserved backgrounds come and take part in the programs. But within, I would say, about 6 months of the organization's, you know, existence, I realized, you know what, it's not just underprivileged or low income kids that I should be focusing on. It's just kids that want to create, kids that want to have that opportunity to meet other like-minded kids and want to be in the arts. So I decided, okay, no, I need to open up to kids from any socioeconomic background. And in the 15 years, like I've seen so many kids, you know, inching towards their dreams, getting closer to their dreams and achieving whatever it may be in the arts that they want to accomplish. So it's been really beautiful to see their journeys and be a small part of it.
Yes. And what does dreaming big mean to you, and how do you encourage the mindset in the youth that you work with?
I love that question. For me, dreaming big literally means just dream the biggest dreams that you have. Of course. And there's actually a quote that I love, and it says, shoot for the moon, and if you miss, you'll land among stars.
Oh, I love that.
So for me, that's really what dreaming big means. It's just the sky's the limit. Don't let anybody stunt your growth.
Of course.
If you have a goal, just work hard at it, and anything is possible. If you look at my experience from when I was in high school, I was not a good student, did not have good grades. You would not think that like I would start a nonprofit, start a publishing company. So as long as you work hard, you can literally achieve anything.
I love that. And that's true, because you know what? Sometimes our stories start different than how they end up.
Absolutely.
You know, I wasn't the best high school student either. Math was not my forte, you know, but I made it through. I didn't think I'd be an MC either. You know what I mean? Or doing something like this, right? So
absolutely. And the joke actually is, in high school, I failed the history exam 2 or 3 times.
Not laughing
because
at you.
No, but I get test anxiety, so I blank out. And then fast forward to 25 or whatever it is years later, I now have a series of history books.
Right.
Like I would never have imagined that
in a different way, you know?
Exactly. So it's just, you never know what, you know, the universe has in store for you.
Absolutely. And if you could collaborate with any artist or activist on a project, who would it be, and what would the project look like?
That is a good question. If I could collaborate with any artist, I mean, there's so many talented artists. There's actually a really incredible opera singer named Misha Brugger-Grosserman. And we used to have our Black History Month tour, and it was called Songs of Freedom.
Ooh.
And she did a documentary called Songs of Freedom, I found out years later.
Wow.
So I was like, ooh.
Okay.
I just feel like there's a lot of synchronicity there, and I would love to perhaps, collaborate with her. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe some writers.
Yes.
There's opportunities to collaborate with so many people
Exactly.
here in Canada, but I don't know.
I think the opera singer would be good because
I would
it's another full circle moment, right?
Yeah, and it's also the arts. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. And what advice would you give to parents and educators who want to teach their children about diversity and inclusion, but don't know where to start?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I would recommend that parents go to their library, and if they don't see the books, ask them. You could recommend that a library orders a book.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's not, I actually used to work at a library. So if the book is not there, you could put in a request that you want to see it in their catalog in the public library. So I would definitely suggest that parents, do, I guess, start creating a list of books that they would like to see. Same with the schools. You can ask the school librarian, you could ask the school board.
That's true.
But I mean, if you don't see a book that you would like to see in the classroom, in the library, whatever it may be, I mean, you could make those changes by literally just making a request.
Exactly. Asking. You have to ask. If you don't ask, you'll never know.
Exactly.
Right? So that's a good suggestion. Now, in your experience, how has the landscape of Black history education in Canada changed since you started your work?
I mean, I have seen changes since my book came out in 2018. Just last year, or it was earlier this year, the province of Ontario announced that it was mandatory to teach Black history in schools. Wow. So we are seeing some strides.
Good.
I hope that we do see the same changes here in Quebec.
I hope so.
Fingers crossed.
Yes,
never know.
exactly. We never know.
But we are now seeing that a lot of schools are more open and more receptive to actually having us come in and do presentations or buying books as classroom sets.
I love that. Okay, that's good. And where can we find your books?
Okay, so you can find my books online at bigdreamers.ca, and they're in several different retail outlets across Canada. Indigo, they're at local mom and pop shops as well.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, in Toronto, there's this beautiful Black-owned bookstore called A Different Book List.
Okay.
They have been huge supporters since day one. There's also Knowledge bookstores, so just type in Big Dreamers and you could find us.
Absolutely. And looking ahead, what are some of the dreams and goals you have for Big Dreamers and Overture with the Arts?
Great question. So, I mean, for Big Dreamers, this book here with the purple cover, that's actually coming out very soon. So in November, you could see that available in bookstores and on my website. So I'm very excited about that. I have more plush dolls coming out. On top of Big Dreamers, I'm also working on some animated shorts.
Good.
I'm working on stuff in TV. So lots of projects in the works that I'm very proud of.
Good. That is awesome. And we look forward to it. Thank you so much, Akilah, for being on the first episode of Beyond February.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.